Colin, what was it like today to come back and be a lecturer at the Scholars College?
It was awesome. I don't think I quite deserved it. I loved every minute of it. This is a place that holds a very warm place in my heart, and I got to see some pretty brilliant people lecture here for 4 years, and so I'm really honored to have been able to do so. And I like to hear myself speak, so that is great too. You know, you get actors bitching in bars, and they're all like, well, it's all about who you know. You know, it's all about who you know. It's not about how good you are. You know, I just got to make those connections. And so, first of all, it's all about who you know in the rest of life. And that's not necessarily like some negative, horrible, superficial thing. Like, you know, you also have to make sure that you are excited to know people in whatever field you go into. So if you're a person who's thinking, I got to make connections in order to succeed, if you go into that connection with only, not that you love people, want to hang out with people, or are interested by people, but only in that they are a connection, people read that right away, you'll never get anywhere. They'll sense the superficiality and the insincerity of that right away. So for me, I had a lot of connections. I just never even thought of the word connection or network. I just like people.
Talk a little bit about what you've been doing lately for folks that may not have been keeping up with your career.
Well, from here, I moved to New York. I toured nationally doing musicals like Oklahoma and The Producers for 4 years. Then I got cast in a musical called Jersey Boys and did that in San Francisco, Vegas. I did it on tour, and now I've toured the world doing press for them. I moved to Hollywood and am currently trying my darndest to make it in television and film. Awesome.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what advice would you give, except maybe don't do it, somebody that wanted to go into professional acting? I mean, I'm just so admiring you for having made a life of this, because I know it's horribly difficult. Mm-hmm. But do you have any advice? Go to the Scholars College, I guess? But,
go to the Scholars College. Yeah. Airtag.
I mean, how
St. Thomas Aquinas, guys. That gets you into major Broadway shows. You know, we were talking about this morning, whenever they brought somebody into, I always thought it was really weird whenever they brought somebody into the theater department to be sort of inspirational and perform for us and talk to us. Every one of them had the same phrase, and they said, if you could picture yourself doing something else, do it. If you can't picture yourself doing something else, go ahead and go into acting, because it's just the numbers. And when people say how difficult it is, I think there's a bit of a misconception, because you hear that New York is so tough, and how difficult it is to succeed in acting and being an actor. You kind of translate that it's sort of the people aren't difficult. The community in New York is wonderful, and casting directors are generally just nice, supportive people. But the numbers game is ridiculous. It's like playing the lottery. So it takes the feeling of a calling. It takes the arrogance of a person who, you know, can show up to an audition where 300 to 350 people who look like you are all standing in a line and think that maybe today's my day. And I think that comes actually not from ego. I think it comes from an obsession with the art, and the desire to want to be able to communicate in that way more than you want to be able to do anything else. I said in the theater department earlier, it's sort of, it was scary going to New York, but it wasn't that I had to overcome that fear. It was that the fear of not going to New York was greater, especially having been supported. Having a teacher say, like, teachers ask me about the play coming up. How wonderful to have your text and traditions professor ask you about your play coming up. You know, it occurred to me when I was trying to put this together that, like, Scholars College may have been the first sort of group of people outside of theater that was supportive of me being in theater.
And of course, this is the 25th anniversary of Scholars, and we're asking all the folks that have come back, what does being a graduate of Scholars College mean to you now?
It means so much to me now, and from the time that I did graduate. I'm super proud. I love the people that I met here, my classmates and my teachers. I am super duper proud of this facility as it has been built. It is beautiful around here, and it should be. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be a graduate of this place. I brag about it all the time. And so it means a lot. I didn't create any of these entities. I just have come into them, and it just is just the love of educators. I stand before you as a product of the love of loving educators. Would have been first and foremost. There's no way I would have ever taken a job over the Scholars. So quite clearly, I wouldn't have been able to do those jobs if the Louisiana Scholars, apostrophe after the S, didn't say I could do it. More than anything, as far as script analysis goes, that I learned from the theater department is something I learned when I took what I thought was a blow-off class. Yeah, I took it because I thought it would be easy and I would be able to cruise through it. A Tennessee Williams class I took with Dr. Means that had been put together. Do you guys still get to choose, like, if you want a class? When I tell people that, they go crazy. They love that idea. Anybody, oh yeah, I went to the Honors College. If we wanted a class, we got together. We signed a petition and the teachers went off and learned about it, and then we had the class. I gotta tell you, I have never heard of another place that does that, and people always think that's the coolest thing. I didn't put together the tennis, it had already been, you just decided to repeat it, right?
It was, I think, Greg Romero.
Yeah, put it together.
Originally. I don't know what year that was.
A little bit before.
Yeah.
They
I
don't
think
have
Greg
them
was a
together.
senior when Colin was a
Yeah. So, yeah, because I did meet Greg Romero. That just felt, I don't know about you, that just felt like a journey to me together. We just read and read and read and read. And for a lazy person, what a wonderful thing to be able to learn how much you can learn if you put in the time.
You know, is there one thing that you've taken away from Scholars that's helped you in the career you're in now?
The ability to think with an open mind and analyze specifically. That goes to life problems. That goes to a script. I think that would be one thing that would be noteworthy. They sit in a circle, and they've all read the play, and they try as hard as they can to go as deep as they can into the meaning, into what the playwright is trying to say. They want to always present in the writer's voice. They want to know where these characters are coming from. They build and build the build around these characters to make, to find the greater truth in what they've just been read. I mean, it's such a sparse text, isn't it? A play that you can sit down and read in an hour and a half, and they've got to make a world out of it. So that you look at the setting, the politics of the world at the time, always. Politics of the world at the time. You look at the philosophy of the playwright. Does that answer your question? Yeah. It really is. It feels great. It feels like I'm back in seminar when I haven't read and I'm making jokes to hide the fact that I haven't read. Yes, sir. Damien Duke Domingue was one of the million ways that the Scholars College helped me. He and I connected, being a scholar. He was in town for a couple of days. He gave me my first job at the Flat Rock Playhouse after school. I had done some regional work in the summers, and that was a really great stepping stone to when I moved to New York. Surely I had some more, oh, right, okay. It's so nice to be able to speak like that, to roll out your credits as if those were the only thing that happened, right? Like, it's so nice to be able to just list when you have published as opposed to when you weren't. Listen to me like I know about scholarly publishing. I'm just trying to relate to my audience. But if I'm going to talk about being an actor, or I guess trying to get into stage and film productions and make money, we don't need to go into the art of acting yet, I have to tell the other side of the story. The bouncing couches, the sublets, the roommate hell, temp agencies, cater waiting, hustling, learning, and living in a support network that it is required to stay alive and to audition. If I hadn't had the perspective I had here, if I hadn't had the humbling of attending school with such bright people every day, people that can think and speak and act, they can just read circles around me, I don't think I would have cut it in New York.